The advice is as common as it is comforting. Forgive, and you will feel better. But what if your brain disagrees? Inside a functional magnetic resonance imaging machine, a test subject is told to imagine taking revenge on someone who wronged them. As the fantasy plays out, a specific region deep within the brain, the dorsal striatum, lights up. This area is a crucial part of the brain's reward circuit, the same system that responds to delicious food, monetary gain, or addictive drugs. It's processing the imagined retaliation not as a moral failure, but as a deeply satisfying, rewarding event. This neurological reality presents a stark contrast to the cultural narrative. The brain isn't simply seeking malice, it's seeking to balance a perceived social equation. The feeling of satisfaction derived from thoughts of revenge is a powerful, primal signal that something unjust has occurred and needs to be rectified. It's a biological impulse, not just a petty emotion. This impulse is so fundamental that suppressing it without resolution can create its own unique form of cognitive stress. This desire for resolution is often packaged into a single, alluring word: closure. We seek it after breakups, after arguments, after loss. Yet, if you search through pre-1990s psychology textbooks, you will find the term conspicuously absent. Closure is not a formal psychological diagnosis or a recognized emotional state with empirical backing. It's a media-friendly concept that exploded in popular culture, promising a neat end to messy human experiences. The problem is that grief and trauma don't operate like a door that can be satisfyingly shut. They are more like a landscape you learn to navigate. The expectation of a final, clean moment of closure can set people up for failure, making them feel inadequate when the lingering feelings of injustice or sadness persist, as they often do. The brain doesn't just delete a painful memory once an apology is received or a decision to forgive is made. The neural pathways created by that experience remain. The search for a mythical endpoint can be more damaging than accepting the permanent change the event has caused. What we are often searching for when we say we want closure is not an ending, but a restoration of justice. The just world hypothesis, a concept developed by social psychologist Melvin J. Lerner, suggests that humans have a fundamental cognitive need to believe the world is an orderly, fair, and predictable place where people get what they deserve. A significant transgression, like a betrayal, shatters this belief. It introduces chaos into our model of the world. The intense desire to see the wrongdoer face consequences is not necessarily bloodlust. It's an attempt to cognitively repair that shattered model. It's a way of proving to ourselves that the rules of fairness still apply. This justice motive is so powerful that when it's not satisfied externally, our brains will try to satisfy it internally, sometimes by blaming the victim, including ourselves, to make the unjust event seem less random. Acknowledging this drive as a core human motivation rather than a primitive urge is critical to understanding the aftermath of being wronged. Pressuring someone to forgive before they have processed this injustice can backfire spectacularly. Research published in the Social, Psychological, and Personality Science journal has found a paradoxical link between forgiveness and rumination. In these studies, individuals who were quicker to grant forgiveness, particularly when the offense was severe and the offender unrepentant, were more likely to continue obsessively thinking about the event. This is because premature forgiveness acts as a cognitive override. It instructs the conscious mind to stop working on a problem that the subconscious, emotional brain knows is still unsolved. Your brain is effectively a detective, trying to understand the motive, the method, and the future risk of the crime. Forgiving without answers or accountability is like telling the detective to go home when the crime scene is still active. The mind will keep returning to the transgression, not out of spite, but in a persistent, frustrating attempt to complete its analysis and protect you from future harm. This creates a state of intense psychological discomfort known as cognitive dissonance. This is the stress we feel when we hold two or more contradictory beliefs, or when our actions contradict our beliefs. When you forgive someone who has not acknowledged their wrongdoing, shown remorse, or taken steps to change, you are holding two opposing ideas at once. This person is forgiven, and this person remains a threat. Your behavior, the act of forgiving, is in direct conflict with your knowledge of the unresolved injustice and potential for future harm. To resolve this dissonance, the brain must change something. It might start to downplay the severity of the original offense. Maybe it wasn't that bad. Or even start to rationalize the offender's behavior, all in an effort to make your act of forgiveness feel logical. This internal, stressful negotiation is a heavy cognitive load, and it can be more damaging than holding on to the anger, which at least is a state of cognitive consistency. Something bad happened, and it is appropriate to feel bad about it. Deep within the brain's temporal lobes are two almond-shaped clusters of nuclei, the amygdala. They are the brain's threat detection and emotional memory centers. When you experience a betrayal or a profound injustice, the amygdala links the memory of that event with a powerful negative emotional charge. This isn't a flaw, it's a critical survival feature. The emotional tag acts like a high-priority warning, ensuring you don't forget the source of danger. Forgiveness, as a conscious cognitive decision made in the prefrontal cortex, does not simply reach down and erase the amygdala's programming. Attempting to force it is like trying to use a word processor to edit a line of code in the operating system. You can't just tell your threat detection system to ignore a verified threat. True emotional change happens not when you force yourself to feel differently, but when the conditions change, when the threat is neutralized, accountability is established, or safety is restored, allowing the amygdala to downgrade the alert level naturally. Beyond the internal neurological conflict, forgiving without accountability has a direct, practical consequence. It can enable repeat harm. When forgiveness is offered without any change in the offender's behavior, it can be interpreted not as grace, but as a signal that the consequences for their actions are negligible. This can inadvertently create a cycle of abuse, where the transgression is followed by a superficial apology, then forgiveness, which resets the stage for the next transgression. It's a social dynamic that can be observed in personal relationships, workplaces, and even on a societal level. The absence of consequences removes the primary incentive for the offender to undertake the difficult work of self-reflection and change. In this context, withholding forgiveness is not an act of bitterness. It is a rational, protective boundary. It is a statement that says your actions have consequences, and the relationship cannot be restored until the fundamental issue of your behavior is addressed. It's a tool for enforcing accountability, not a failure to be kind. So, if the goal isn't always forgiveness, and closure is a myth, what is the alternative? One useful psychological framework is integration. This isn't about forgetting the event or pretending it didn't hurt. Integration is the process of weaving the memory of the wrongdoing into the larger narrative of your life, such that it becomes part of your story, but not the defining chapter. It's the difference between a scar that is still an open, infected wound and a scar that has healed over. It's still there, a permanent part of your skin, but it no longer causes constant pain. This is an active process of meaning-making. It involves acknowledging the pain, validating the anger, and understanding how the event changed you. It doesn't require the participation or repentance of the other person. It's an internal recalibration, a way of owning your story, including its most painful parts, and deciding how it will inform but not dictate your future. The event becomes a data point that informs your understanding of the world and your own resilience.
Monotony has grown fast. Nearly 2,700 people have watched in the last few weeks, yet less than 0.03% are subscribed. It would mean a lot if you joined by hitting subscribe. And again, thanks for watching.